Well, good evening. I'm Cecilia Lito. I come from the New Jersey Work Environment Council, which is New Jersey's COSH group, and I'm also on the board.
Louder.
I'm also on the board for National COSH. And I have the honor of presenting the second Educator Trainer Award. The Educator Trainer Award recognizes the accomplishment of an individual or group who excel in reaching workers through training and education, and therefore empowering workers to fight for improved health and safety. For the past 20 years, Carmen Martino has been doing just that. Through his research, curriculum development, train-the-trainer programs, and exceptional skills as a trainer, Carmen has promoted and encouraged thousands of workers to take action to protect their safety and health on the job. I have fond memories of being Carmen's partner in 4-day train-the-trainer programs at Rutgers Labor Education Center, developing union worker trainers using the participatory curriculum that Carmen had developed. In 2000, Carmen co-founded New Labor. New Labor is an alternative model of worker organization and is a membership-based worker center of low-wage Latino immigrants in New Jersey. They educate, organize, and fight for social justice in the workplace. Today, New Labor has more than 2,000 dues-paying members, and as Director of Education for New Labor, Carmen develops participatory curriculum through research and focus groups that has not only been used in New Jersey, but across the United States. New Labor's members and staff use participatory training, leadership development, and direct action to collectively improve conditions of work, and their learner-centered health and safety curriculum is facilitated by trained worker trainers. More than 300 workers have completed New Labor's 5-day train-to-trainer programs. Mentored and supported by New Labor staff, these trainers have offered health and safety classes to more than 5,000 immigrant workers employed in factories, warehouses, temp agencies, service industries, landscaping, and construction. In addition to carrying out trainings, worker trainers conduct outreach, recruitment for trainings, and follow up with participants. New Labor staff and worker trainers have offered train-to-trainer classes that replicated health and safety curriculum and organizing strategies with Interfaith's Worker Justice, National Day Labor's organizing affiliated worker centers across the country. In collaboration with Rutgers University and the University of Illinois Chicago, co-authored a series of health and safety publications and presentations at national OSHA and NIOSH conferences. With help, they have expanded New Labor's reach. Carmen, and New Labor's director, sits on the New Jersey WEC's Board of Directors, and I am honored to present the 2012 National COSH Trainer Education Award to Carmen Martino and the New Labor team.
So I got a bunch of people that I want to thank because I always tell my kids, it takes a whole lot of help to make it on your own, right? So this list of people includes, first of all, at New Labor, the staff at New Labor, Madian, Ryan, Romania, Lou, and folks I work with at Rutgers, at OTEC. I'm the co-director of the Occupational Training and Education Consortium there. I work with Michelle Ashner and Betsy Marshall. They're here. I also want to thank Celia and Rick and the WEC staff because I work with them. I am the recording secretary officially on the WEC executive board. And then there's some people from the past that I need to none of them are here, but it's still important. So. Bill Kane, Richie Cunningham, Bob Brown, Deb Lancaster, Les Leopold, Mike Merrill, and I think that's it. Yeah, okay. So, I'm not good at these things. I'm really not good at these things, and I think you figured that out. But what I'll tell you is that in 1991, I got a call. I was 31 years old. And I had a master's degree in labor studies, and I was digging ditches and really was still trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I'm still working on that, but I got a call from Mike Merrill, and he said, I need somebody to operate a camera for 5 days, get $500 on there. So for 5 days, I watched what was at that time the second Train the Trainer for the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union. I watched for 5 days, and at the end of the 5 days, I said to myself, I like this. This works. There's something about this that is not the same, you know. And what it was workers who were able to communicate with each other and share experience and learn and identify problems and solve problems. And I saw that and I said, that's what I want to do. So that's what I started working with first a little bit at a time. Actually, I worked with Rick occasionally, Rick Engler. He hired me for a few jobs working for a WEC in the New Jersey Industrial Union Council. Then Rick got a health and safety grant. I went to work for the IUC. And while we were at the IUC, we started to build our worker trainer program the same way the OCAW had done it. And we had a pretty good group of people over a period of time that we worked with a bunch of local unions. We were very successful. We got people fired up at these trainers, and it worked. But I also started to feel like in the late 90s that things were changing, and even the Industrial Union Council, we were shrinking. Our membership was shrinking. We started to experience manufacturing jobs leaving New Jersey in the 90s. It didn't just happen the last time around here. And you could feel it, you could see it then. And so I was lucky at that point in time. We hired a new staff person, Richie Cunningham. And at the same time, we used to do these health and safety trainings, or we did these economics trainings. Popular economics, it was called Corporate Power and the American Dream. And we were doing it all over New Jersey, and for some reason we got to do it one day at Drew University. One of the OCAW business agents, his daughter was going to school there, so we went there and we did it. And a guy named Lou Kimmel, who's here, he saw that, and he asked me if there was an internship he could do. And it was 1999 at that point, and I was noticing at that point all these folks in New Brunswick every day. I'd drive in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you'd see people lined up in front of, it looked like people's houses at one point, and then later storefronts and so on. And I didn't know what it was about, and so I got some sense of it, and it looked like people were getting jobs there. And so I asked Lou if he would go out and do some investigating, and he did, and he wrote this little paper on it, and I don't know, do you still have the paper somewhere, Lou, in the archives? Yeah, he does. All right, so Richie was working with me at the IUC, and Richie was becoming frustrated with the things that were happening in the labor movement, and he wanted to do something different, and I agreed with him. And so he talked to Lou, and Lou agreed to be a SAL. He went to work as a temp worker for the next year. And the whole time Richie and I kept saying to him, what do they want? What do temp workers want? And he kept saying, well, they want to learn how to speak English. And we said, but what else do they want? Well, they want to learn how to speak English. So this went on for 6 months. And finally we said, okay, Lou, you know what? Why don't you do it? You start the English class. And he did. And the first time we had an ESO class, one person showed up, right, Lou? Right. So in about 6 months, there was 20 people. And at that point, they agreed to start paying $20 a year in dues, and New Labor was born. And so I'll skip the rest of it. Yeah. And one person at a time, that's it. So the thing about connecting this back to the training is that at some point, we had to start an organization, and the only thing I knew how to do was health and safety. And we knew a little bit about how to get some grant money. And so between the grant money and our relationship with folks at Rutgers, we were able to secure some grant money, enough grant money, we got the thing off the ground. And we had our first train-the-trainer in 2003. And we've been growing it ever since. And the thing about it is, the organization itself is in many ways based on the model of training. It's about people that are engaged, they identify their problems, and they solve their problems. And sometimes, you know, that always doesn't work. You know that. right? But there are times when it does, and those are the times that I wait for, because when it happens, that's when you know you've done your job, and you feel like you can do it again and again and again, because you've given people something, right, to work with. It's in them, and it's in you, and that's what it's for, right? So, I would like to go on and explain more about New Labor, but I think I'm better served if I let New Labor explain itself. So,
this training works because it gives us
because we're working together and organizer.
very good.
Igualdad.
because give us equality,
Y porque construimos poder.
and because we build power. So sing with us. Sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede.
Thank you all. And I did have one last thing that I did want to say, and that is that we're all workers. So we're all workers, and all workers need representation. And New Labor gives representation to workers who don't have it, but we're all workers, and we all deserve representation. But we all only get it if we're willing to do the work ourselves, right? We have to be the ones who identify the problems and solve the problems, and we have to be the ones who stand up to the bosses and say, no, we're not going to do that job if it's not safe. And yes, we want respect, and you're going to give it to us. And we only get that through organization. And New Labor is one of those organizations that I think, at the end of the day, we're going to have something to say that's going to be a little different. It's going to look a little different than what traditional unions have looked like. And it's going to be something that's not a worker center. It's going to be something we like to call a community union that's going to serve everyone in that community.